great pleasure to introduce the Director of Athletics for Syracuse University, Dr. Gross.
Thank you very much. This is a great day, and I'm glad everyone can join us here. You know, we just come off of a fantastic season here at Syracuse University football, and my good friend Doug Roberts should be here somewhere, but his dad, Dr. Fred Roberts, who was a great pediatrician in town, sent me a letter before he died. He said, Syracuse football has been restored to its rightful place, and I think that was really summed up what's going on right now. And we are just so excited and thrilled that we can hand the torch to a man that is so deserving of being a head coach. Someone who's committed his entire life to coaching, who followed in the footsteps of his dad, who brings enthusiasm, who brings wisdom, who brings experience, who brings engagement with student athletes, someone who believes in developing the total student athlete, someone who's given his life to seeing young men grow into productive, viable people that can contribute to society. He's a fellow that, when you look at our teams and you look at our defense, a man that his defense epitomizes his personality. If you watch the Pinstripe Bowl, I don't know the last time I saw 2 safeties in one game. Someone's got to tell me when that's happened. His players love him. They'll run through the wall for him. He's inspiring. The network that he's created over all these years is just so impressive. It's just amazing to hear the things that other coaches have said. You know, Coach Shafer is a coach to me that since he's been here, I look at him like he's a head coach. He's been running this defense, the way he carries himself, he's got it in him. He's got something special. And every once in a while, you get to run into someone that is really rare. And I've been fortunate to be in this business where I've run into some coaches that have had some tremendous success, and you knew ahead of time that they were going to be successful. And here we are getting ready to go into the ACC. We're going into new territory. We're going to be opening up playing Penn State on August 31st. We're going to be looking right across the stadium from them. And you want to know that you got someone that can lead your men into battle and represent this institution in the highest way. And I got to tell you, there's no one more deserving to have this opportunity than the man I'm going to bring up right now, Coach Scott Shafer.
How's everybody doing today? Doing great. Couldn't be better. You know, I want to start out just let you know I'm extremely humble and thankful to the people that made this thing go down. Start with Chancellor Nancy Cantor. She's been wonderful. I've had the opportunity to get to know her better over the last few days, and I'm really looking forward to working for her and with her. Dr. Gross over here, who the same thing, you know. I'm the type of person that always felt like you do your job and everything else takes care of itself. And I didn't try to get to know a lot of people around here other than the guys that can have cause and effect on our victories, which were our players and our assistant coaches. But I've really enjoyed the process over the last few days, getting to know Dr. Gross, and I'm really enthusiastic about the opportunity that he's presented to me, and I can't thank you enough. Richard Thompson, Chairman of the Board of Trustees. I'm looking forward to getting to know him better, and I'm looking forward to expanding our horizons with viewpoints across the board from those people that understand this university better than I. And I'd also like to thank Howie Fanstill for his ongoing support of me personally and the development and what we want to make one of the best teams in the nation, and that is a goal of ours. As I step back, I want to take a second and look back over the last 4 years and thank the man that gave me the opportunity to come here Doug Marone, the man that built the foundation that we're going to get on top of and try to continue to grow as we work forward. And I appreciate the fact that Doug came in here along with a good group of staff and took us from the worst to the first. And he should be commended, and he has been, because he's in a position that I know he'll do great things up there at Buffalo. And being a head coach in the NFL is something that I know he's aspired to do, and I think he's a perfect fit. Lastly, I'd like to thank my family, Missy, Wolfgang, and Elsa, who I love dearly, and I can't talk about right now. The next thing I'd like to do is extend open arms to the alumni, especially the former football players and coaches. Coach Mack, I want to invite you guys to be active in our future and to help us, because you're the ones that put the blood, the sweat, and tears, and you bled orange for so many years, and this is your program. And I just look forward to taking some time as I reflect and go into this process that's in front of us, to respect those before me. And open arms, we got Floyd Little, who I extend an invitation for the former players to work through as we look forward and look for all the assistance we need to become great. With those things being said, what I did want to do today is talk to you a little bit about the approach, the core, if you will, of this program. To carry on the values of integrity, commitment, excellence, and teamwork, and put them to action with great attitude, effort, and enthusiasm. The pillars of this program. The thing we will talk about most on a daily basis is just that: attitude, effort, and enthusiasm. And I know I spoke to a lot of you folks in the press over the last few years about this, but it really is the core of my beliefs and how you develop young men. And we talk about controlling the controllables. And it's the most underrated thing going, in my opinion. And I can say it to each one of you, just like I do with my children, and just like I do with my players. When you get out of bed every morning, you have choices to make. And they're controllable choices. Regardless of what hand you've been dealt in life, you can pop out of bed and say, this is going to be my attitude today. And I'm going to put effort in because that's a choice I made. And it's followed up with a celebration of enthusiasm. And it's those three pillars that we will always point back to as we try to progress forward and making this community proud about the product we put on that football field. I know a lot of you will have questions about the direction and the vision of where this program is going. So after some thought, some long thought, I had a few things here that I wanted to mention to you. With regards to the vision of this program as I see it, number one, I envision a hard-nosed team that's from a hard-nosed town. And the thing I like about Syracuse, the city, is that the people that live here and embrace it are tough people. They're hard-nosed people that work their ass off, and they expect a hard-nosed football team. And in my opinion, it's our job to put a product on the field that the community can say, that is us. That is our team. They're physical, and they're going to get after you when you come to the dome. I envision a team with integrity and academic excellence. If there's one thing I'm most proud of, is the fact that we dominated the Big East off the field academically. And that needs to be continued as we work our way into this ACC conference, another conference that has excellent academics. And our goal is not only to dominate on the football field, but also to dominate in the classroom, like our kids have done these last 4 years. I envision an offense with a lot of juice, a lot of orange juice. I want an offense that's fast, that's fun, and inventive. I think Coach Hackett did a great job putting that on display, especially in the last 3 quarters of this season. And we want to continue that forward. Now, the personality of the offensive coordinator that we will end up hiring is yet to be determined. But that personality has to be such that he is inventive and exciting to watch. I want this team to be an offensive unit that when you come and watch them play, you better not take a bathroom break. Because there's going to be a lot of juice on the field. And that'll be an expectation, and it's an awful lot of fun when you go after it from that point of view. I envision an orange crush defense that makes the opponent's families cringe when their child's about to get hit. And I don't think Missy wanted me to go there. But I thought about one of my favorite people in the business, and I guarantee you Jim Harbaugh would want me to go there. We used to always talk about before he got up in front of a crowd, he'd come in, he'd say, "Shafer, what do you think of this? I will bow to no man and no program." That's great, Jim. I love it, you know. And if anything, he gave me the inspiration to have a little bit of fun with it. So I put that one in there because I do believe it, and that's how we talk to our kids. That's how we talk to our players. We want to put the fear of God in the opposing football player that happens to have the ball underneath his arm. And that's what we want to do, and we want to find a way to continue to play an aggressive style of defense that people love to watch. I envision a dome that shakes and intimidates. And when we get the opposition in the loud house, we lock the doors behind them and we don't let them out. For 60 minutes or more, whatever it takes, they are locked in the dome, and we don't let them escape. I envision a student body that becomes our 12th man. On game day, a student body that can't wait to get to the dome. That saves some energy the night before because they know we're counting on them to help us intimidate the opposing team. A student body that can't wait to get there and support their student athletes. So those are the vision points that I put down that I felt were important as we go, and I know you're going to have a bunch of questions. But I'd also like to end this just by announcing that had the opportunity, and Coach Mack, you know this, there's only a handful of people. I'm in the business 22 years. There's only a handful of people in the business that you trust like a brother. There are a lot that you respect, but there's only a handful that you trust. The highs and the lows of all the years being a coach. The guys that got your back all the way through, and usually the guys that you had an opportunity to work with. And one of my dearest friends, who is also somebody I idolize as a coach, has accepted to come here and take the title of defensive coordinator under me. His name's Chuck Bola, and we just got confirmation that we can announce that to you, and you'll have a lot of questions, and I can already see some of you guys are Googling it. He's a hard-nosed guy. He went to high school just outside of Buffalo. He's been in the NFL as a player and a coach. He coached my linebackers at Western Michigan. He took a program that had 1 win the first season, and we moved or the season prior to our hiring under Bill Cubitt. He helped us take a defense and a team from winning 1 game against a 1AA team at the time, and turning it around and winning 8 and having one of the biggest turnarounds in college football. I trust him like a brother. He's run the same scheme, and we've We have a mutual respect for one another, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions about him. But anyway, with all those things, I appreciate your time, and I look forward to answering your questions. Good. Thank you very much.
Coach Shafer and Dr. Gross will be out here to answer your questions. Please address your question to the appropriate individual.
Scott, congratulations. You know, when Doug was here, it seemed to me that he pretty much let you run the defense, you know, the way you saw fit. What will your approach be with the offensive and defensive coordinators here?
Yeah, I really believe in letting your coaches coach. I know I always felt like I was at my best when I had the freedom to be inventive, freedom to, you know, look at a game plan and say, what's the risk and the reward, and the freedom to coach the kids the way I felt fit. Doug did a great job giving me that opportunity here, and I need to do the same thing to my people as we get this staff put together. I will also keep my hand in on the scheme, especially on the defensive side of the football. But Chuck and I have been together, and we come from the same, you know, the same sort of scheme as well as philosophical viewpoint. So that's how we're going to go about it.
Can you tell me anything more about the OC search? Is there time?
Yeah, it's going well. It's going really well. It's been narrowed down. I'm not at liberty to express any names at this point in time, but all I can tell you is it's unbelievable how many people want to be here. It's unbelievable how many people want to be here. And what we're looking for is the right fit. You know, it's one thing to be a talented coach. It's one thing to have a pedigree. It's one thing to be, you know, a guy that's up and coming. What we need to do is find the best fit for Syracuse. And I'm not in a hurry to do that. You know, John Wooden, I mentioned this a couple times already. One of my favorite coaching points, and I even talked to Wolfgang about this as a player, is, you know, don't hurry, but be quick and sharp. But don't hurry. We don't want to go about this in such a way that we sloppily get the first guy that sounds exciting. It doesn't fit extremely well with each and every other member of the staff. So we're gonna do it right, and we'll get the best guy in here that gives us a chance to put on a show on offense.
Mark?
Scott, how long has this been a goal of yours to be a head coach, and what is it like to realize that?
Yeah, it's been a goal of mine since I was about 10 years old. My father, and we'll talk about this later when I have more composure. Since I was 10 years old, because I was influenced by my dad. Next question.
The rest of the staff, I don't know if you're at liberty to say or not, but you know, there's a lot of guys there's been a lot of speculation about who might stay, who might go. Can you tell us anything about that?
Yeah, the only thing I would say there, for Nolan's question and anyone else that has the same question but tries to reword it, is talented people get recruited. And at the end of the day, I hope for the best for every individual in his family. I've been in that situation when I've been on the side of being recruited. I've been in that situation when some of my best friends had a tough decision to make, whether to leave a good job or move out or move on to something that they felt was better. At the end of the day, we got great coaches in this country, and you know, for me, coast to coast, I've been fortunate enough to coach, and I know a lot of really good quality football coaches that have a high level of character. And all I can tell you is just give me a little bit of time here. Between myself and Dr. Gross, we're going to put together a hell of a staff, okay? And just give me a little bit of patience on that thing. Just understand this, our priorities have to be this, in my opinion. the people side of it, it has to be our current players, who I can't wait to see Sunday night. And we have to tend to them first. And then the second thing we have to do is we have to do a great job tending to the prospects, the recruits that we're going after and trying to hang on to. And then the third thing is the coaching staff. And that's just the way we're going to handle that thing. But as soon as we have good information, like we have today with Chuck Bullock, we'll get it to Sue and get it out to you as quickly as possible.
Questions? No?
Sorry. You're gonna be on the sidelines next year, presumably with the headset and everything. When's the last time you did that? I know you've been up in the box for 4 years.
Yeah, I did it for one game against UCLA, my first game at Stanford. Jim felt like it was important that I was on the field, and I did it, and I was the D coordinator, and I couldn't see things the way I like to, so I just did it once. But knowing that I'm gonna let my guys coach this thing, you know, I feel real comfortable about that. Probably more comfortable than my wife does. But I'm not going to be in the press box as the head coach. Any more questions for me?
Scott, you touched on the recruits. Do you get a sense, without naming names, if you're going to be able to keep most of the class together? Or
yeah, the one thing I do know is that you never know until signing day. That's the one absolutely. I've been in situations where, you know, mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, uncle, all told me he's coming. Coach Mack, you've been there, right? He's coming, he's coming, he's coming, we're good. And then the paper doesn't show up. You know what I mean? And he's the guy, Showtime, he's the guy that put all the effort in, and then you lose it. And I've also been on the side where you put all the effort into that big name kid, that 4- and 5-star guy that everybody couldn't believe we got, and then he never played a game in his whole career. And on the flip side, I've coached guys like Louis Delmas, one of the best safeties in the NFL right now. And when I started to recruit Louis from Miami, Florida, nobody knew who he was. And he became a 2-star after he committed to us at Western Michigan. And he was the first safety drafted that year he came out. So I can tell you this, at the end of the day, I want guys that want to play for us. I want guys that want to go to the Dome and say, this is my home. And all those other guys that are wavering, they just better make a decision that they're not going to play us if they decide to go elsewhere.
Other questions for Coach Shafer?
Good.
Any questions for Dr. Gross, please?
Dr. Gross, how important was it to get this taken care of relatively quickly after Coach Moore left the Bills?
No, I think it's kind of what Coach Shafer just said. You know, we don't want to be hurrying things, but we want to be quick about it. It was a great process because this is unique in that we're coming off of a good season. We just tied for the conference championship. So we weren't looking for a huge culture change, right? And so you're late in the game, you're January 8th, and there's people out there that obviously, as Coach mentioned before about assistants and those types of things, there's people that really were intrigued with the Syracuse job because it's been positioned so well. And so with that in mind, you weigh all those things and you put together the calculus on it, and at the end of the day, for the stability, for the things that Coach Shafer has done, for all the experience that he's brought to the table, for him being our defensive head coach, for the engagement with the kids, for the continuity and all those things, it was a perfect fit to have Coach Shafer. So it allowed us to move things along. We were still scientific about it, and I felt good from the start, but we got a quality man right here.
Nico.
This question's actually for Coach Shafer. You know, you spent 4 years here in town, and then to see the reaction the past couple of days, how overwhelming and positive it was to your promotion, how nice has that been for you to see?
It's great, Nico. You know, I mean, shoot, Nico's brother, I walk up to the press box for the last 4 years, and there's this guy who always gives me a high five before I get in the press box, and it's his brother. And my first year here in 2009, it was his brother and about, 15 or 16 other people up there, and that was it. And then we moved forward to this year, and last year, I think back last season, when West Virginia came in here, and they were talking, talking smack, and they were the greatest offense since sliced bread. And our kids, locked them in the dome and beat the hell out of them, right? And then all of a sudden, the fans started coming even more. I think about Louisville this year when we played the unstoppable team and didn't have a chance in hell to play against that team, and our kids got after it, and that crowd was rumbling in that dome. So I think, we've embraced our fans, and they've embraced us. And I know it's an ongoing thing, and I know they're going to come to watch a quality product, and we need to put that on. But I like this town. I like what this town's texture is, and it's like where I grew up. I'm from Northeast Ohio, and if you played football, you played it hard nosed. Cleveland, Ohio was right down the road from us, and that's the way we were brought up. And I had the same feel here when I first got here. And Coach Mack won't remember, and I got to show you this, Coach Mack. I got a picture of my dad, my little brother, and my mom shaking your hand at a junior day many years ago. And they came home, and I remember, because I'm about 4 years older than my younger brother, John. And they came home, and I was kind of waiting there, like, hey, how'd the Syracuse visit go? And he's one of those kids who was a great football player, but had probably, where he belonged, like me, Division III genetics. But they came home and they said, well, Coach Mack was a great guy. He took the time to sit down and tell us that we were invited as a walk-on, but I understand if you can't, because you're going to be a good football player wherever you go. And I have that picture, and I'm going to share that with you, okay? Yeah, it's from a few years ago, Coach.
The question for either Scott or Dr. Gross, whoever thinks they can answer it better, but I'm just curious how this all went down. When you found out Doug was leaving, because it seemed like it happened pretty quick that Scott was the guy. How did it all go down? Did he call you? Did you call him?
Well, we communicate all the time. So, the coaches always know what's going on in their industry. And it's a national network, but it's a small network, and everybody knows everybody in that industry. For me personally, when I looked at the numbers and there was 5 jobs open and they're only mentioning 3 candidates, I figured that kind of got my attention right there. That we probably need to start talking a little bit more. But Doug let me know what's going on, and it was absolutely a great opportunity for him. He was getting a lot of attention. He obviously spent many years in the NFL, so we knew going into it that this day would come one day, and he was prepared back when we hired him. I mean, he was on the short list back then. So, you have some success, you couple it, you see this league open up with all these type of things. So we kind of look forward to that. But Coach Shafer and I have been talking for a long time, and like I said, I felt in my heart that this guy was already a head coach. Sometimes you hire a guy and it's his first job, and you can tell this is wow, I made it. He's arrived. He's experienced. We've got to get him everything he needs now to have success. And so we were prepared for this day, and I think we did it the right way, and luckily we could do it this fast, and thank God that we just happen to have a rare coach on our staff that we can promote the head coach.
Time for a question or two more. Others?
Scott, there hasn't been a 2 special teams coach at SU, at least last season, and I think the season before. Have you given any thought to the arrangement, how you're going to portion that out?
Yeah, probably about, I've given it some thought, probably about every 40, 50 seconds. It's a process. I've been around staffs that we divvied up the special teams and we won championship. I've been around other staffs where one guy did it and we had success. And I've been on a lot of staffs where it was kind of somewhere between those 2 extremes. We'll figure out what fits best, figure out what qualities each coach brings and what his background is with regard to special teams. Because, at the end of the day, we all understand and believe that, it's definitely a triangle. It's offense, defense, special teams. Every coach says that, but it's the truth. And our special teams have to find a way to win 2 or 3 games for us next year. So we'll be prepared well, but again, when we get those staff alignments, I'll pass all those things along to you.
Time for one final question.
For Scott, I talked to a guy who used to work for you, and he said even though he didn't go the school here, you're a Syracuse guy. Tell me how you come to embrace this program.
Yeah, you know, I think first and foremost, the guys that played in the uniform here are far more important than anyone that's coached here. With that being said, being here 4 years and going into my 5th year, it does give me the feeling of ownership. No different than a player that's been here for 4 to 5 years. And I do think that that's a stage that is always important to me. Once I've been on a job, as long as an individual had been on a job as a student athlete, I feel like that gives me a little bit of privilege to feel like I'm one of them as well. Albeit it's still their program first, because the blood, sweat, and tears that, you know, Chris Getney put on that practice field, I remember. No different than the way I feel about Baldwin Wallace College back in Ohio. No matter how old I get, that's my school. And the passion starts with those alumni that played on that football field. But I do feel like this is my school. And for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, you know, not just the town that I've come to love, not just the community of Central New York, but falling in love with the state of New York and the city, New York City. You know, my family has had the opportunity to really embrace that city. You know, being in the Pinstripe Bowl twice and taking trips a couple times since we've been here. And it's just a wonderful state with so many things to offer. And the community's been just wonderful. You know, we live in Fayetteville, and it's been wonderful. We just love it here. So I feel like not only am I a part of this community on campus, but also the community at large. And we feel like it's just meant to be. My daughter Elsa, in 9th grade, is going to get to continue forward with her friends. We had the luxury of Wolfgang being able to play for a great man in Paul Mitch and a great community in Fayetteville Manlius. And for me, selfishly, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. I get a chance to walk through, every morning I walk by Jim Brown. And you talk about a sense of responsibility. Every morning I walk by Jim Brown, and it's like, yes, sir. That's the truth. I walk in, I see Jim, and he says, what's wrong? I said I was a little intimidated, about 10 steps behind him. And by the way, let me also just say this, not to be long-winded, but, you know, I hope you guys realize how hard Darryl Gross has been working to get this thing right. It's been a struggle at times, and you all know that. But all you got to do is walk outside this door and take a right-hand turn and work yourself down through the facility. And if they let you in there, take a look at the locker rooms. And it's an upgrade. It's an upgrade. And the kids that have played here and put the trust into Doug Marone have been backed off the field by this guy right here and by so many of the trustees. And I can tell you that these people behind the scenes are busting their rope to help me hire the best staff in America. And they are trying to take things to new levels, and I couldn't be more motivated by the structure of what you're trying to do. And we're going to go to the damn ACC, and we're going to storm that conference, and we're going to do better than people think we can in year one with a hard-nosed football team that represents this community. Let's end it with that, okay?